Welcome to Test Roll. Since this is our Christmas episode, we wanted to start you off with a story.
The Difficult Photographer. Once upon a time, there was a difficult photographer. He liked to do everything in the very most difficult way. "What fun is it to photograph things if the task is easy?" he would often say. He was, in fact, a very, very difficult man. Every year as Christmas approached, he liked to shoot a Christmas photograph. Needless to say, he did not make it easy. As the years went on, he ran through most of the difficult ideas that he had until he felt that the task was getting too easy. "This is getting too easy," he grumbled. "At this rate, I'll have to give up photography and start collecting analog stereo equipment." One year, as Christmas approached, he walked into an enchanted coffee shop and met a goofy man. The difficult photographer complained, "It's almost Christmas and I haven't another difficult Christmas photograph left in me." The goofy man thought for a moment. "How about a portrait of a very elusive and time-impacted person?" The difficult photographer seemed interested. "I happen to know Santa Claus, and he'll do it for you, but he'll be under a big time constraint because it's almost Christmas," said the goofy man. "Well, that sounds promising," said the difficult photographer, "but I fear it will still be too easy." "Well, maybe you should shoot it with an old 8x10 view camera. It would be both bulky and expensive," said the goofy man. The difficult photographer smiled slightly. "That would be a pain," he admitted. "Have you considered shooting it on glass?" said the goofy man. "That's a terrible idea," said the photographer. "That's why I suggested it," said the goofy man. He went on further. "Do you like scratches on your negatives?" "Of course not," said the photographer. "Well, then I think X-ray film would be a great choice," said the goofy man. "The problem is, I fear," said the photographer, "is that I could do all that well before Santa would need to go." "Well, how about color?" said the goofy man. "Far too easy," pooh-poohed the photographer. "Well, not with sequential shots taken through red, green, and blue filters on black and white panchromatic film," countered the goofy man. The photographer was delighted. "Those are truly the worst suggestions I've ever heard," said the photographer, shaking his hand warmly. "You are a true idiot, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have turned my Christmas photograph into an utter nightmare." The goofy man sipped his hot chocolate and smiled with the satisfaction of the impending hellscape that was to come. The end.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm afraid of. I think that's what we're headed into, and I'm terrified.
I'll let you guess who was the goofy man and who was the difficult photographer. We both like to make things difficult, and certainly the goofy man did, and we're shooting with an Eastman 2D 8x10 view camera. We wanted to do something kind of classic in the way of the camera that everybody tends to think about when they think about old photography, because we're thinking of Christmas past, we're thinking of, our past, and this is kind of the thing that draws us into photography and doing analog photography, because it's kind of wonderful to embrace that old technology and still have something that can be used for making really good photographs even today. So anyway, here we are with the Eastman 2D, and we've got the Optimo shutter. That's the number 4 size. We've got the Gunlach Anastigmat. It's an 8x10 series 4. And I'm guessing that's a straight 300 millimeter.
Yeah, I measured it using a tape measure, focused at infinity. It was like, that's about 300.
300 millimeter. We've got lots of different lenses for this, but this was the one that was going to be cool for the old school stuff. Yeah. So we do have rise on this in the front.
Yeah, if you have a heavy enough lens, you have some rise, but then the whole...
You're actually going to need to put like a chalk right
Yeah.
there to keep it from coming down.
Yeah.
And then you're getting back tilts in the back. And the back isn't quite a revolving back, but it just sort of comes off, and then
Push these up, you take off your...
there you go, and there that is. So,
And if you're like me, you drop it on the floor.
yeah, don't do that.
The Eastman 2D, I think, is a great camera for portrait work, especially if, it's an 8x10 camera. It doesn't have quite the movements and it's like you have no front tilt. You have a little bit of front rise and all that. Rear tilt a little bit. No swing on anything. But you don't need that for a lot of stuff. And for portrait work, the nice thing about this camera is that it just does, basic camera work, and it gets out of your way. It doesn't overcomplicate your life with a whole lot of movements. And I think that makes it an ideal camera for a portrait situation in this case.
Let's talk about the film that we ended up deciding to shoot. The first thing that we came up with is, let's do like a 19th century Santa, like the Thomas Nast drawing, kind of a more antiquated version of Santa. And the first thing that came to my mind was, how about glass plates? I had used some Jason Lane dry plates a couple of years ago, and I liked them. They were interesting. They're hand done, and we were going to get from him, but right now he's rebuilding his darkroom, so we ordered from another person doing dry plates out in Slovenia. They're called zebra plates, and we'd never tried those, so why not? Why not just do something completely different? And so Lars ordered those, and those are old-fashioned. They're, what was it, ISO 2?
Yeah, it's slow.
That brings up kind of the, some of the, things that we're fighting here. We're also fighting exposure because they're slow, but it's also blue sensitive only.
See, I'm looking at that and thinking, how are we going to get enough light?
So yeah, we'll detail that in a little bit. And then why not hedge the bet?
Yeah, so I don't know. You had suggested the dry plates, and I figured, okay, well, maybe it would be good to have some backup with some X-ray film, because X-ray film has a similar tonality. It's blue-green sensitive, at least the stuff I have, and it's I have a box of it right here. This is my stock of Fuji medical X-ray film, and it's good for testing. It's,
By the way, you're going to see dogs around here. I apologize. They run this outfit here.
They are the stars of the show.
That's
frankly.
right. Well, anyway, so sorry. Anyway, you were saying about the X-ray film.
It is. Well, it's great for testing because it's cheap. It's I forget what I paid for it. It's like $60 for 100 sheets, if I remember right. So it's actually under $1 a sheet, and when you're shooting 8x10, that gets into money pretty quickly. It's like if you're getting, even the cheap stuff is $5 a sheet, and you can pay up to $10 a sheet just for black and white. If you're looking at color film, that's, I don't know, $20, $30 a sheet at this point. And that's not even talking about development. So 8x10 really starts draining your wallet fast. And X-ray film is a great way to sort of get a little bit of film under your belt. Unfortunately, one of the reasons why it's cheap is they don't bother with luxuries like scratch resistance. It might be hedging the bet a little bit, but it's got its own interesting little
Let's
quirks.
just call it character.
Yeah, character. It has a lot of character.
Christmas is all about color too. And what more fun could you have than taking a color portrait with 3 different black and white panchromatic negatives through different colored filters and then combining them to actually yield a color image. You know, we call that tricolor photography. What could possibly go wrong, right?
Yeah, when I think of tricolor photography, I think of like fast action, you know. No, I don't.
No.
It's shooting a portrait on tricolor that's not an easy thing to do.
It's a mean thing to do to somebody.
Your subject has to hold very steady, unless you're just desperately hoping to get all sorts of color aberrations.
Oh, you're going to get those.
You know, it's like, but you know, Santa is a perfect portrait subject for color. I mean, you sort of figure, well, I mean, and you had suggested that because first the whole idea had started out with glass plate, and I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. But then I guess it was the color thing you started thinking about. And it's like, well, we really do have to do a tricolor. And my immediate reaction was, why are you doing this to me?
Because it's expensive and you have to do all the work.
How did I hurt you so badly?
But you said yes.
I mean, it's... Yeah, I talked about that with my therapist.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I think it's a great idea to try it, but...
We're gonna earn those lumps of coal in our stockings.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's show you what the shoot ends up looking like, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the pictures and the way we dealt with the processing thereof. Here it comes. And we're back. So we've sent Santa on his way. Lars has been developing film this past week, solid. Every time I called him on the phone to see how things were going, I heard muttered curses. So we did dry plates, and then we did X-ray film, and then we did tricolor exposures. So let's take a look at the dry plates.
Here is one example.
Yeah, we've got it in a sleeve.
Yeah, I need to protect these because
They're pretty soft emulsion.
Yeah.
But you can see they're a little contrasty.
Yeah, I was not prepared for how high contrast these were going to be. In fact, when I developed them, because they are not red sensitive, I could develop them under a safe light. Mm-hmm. And about a minute into the development, I start seeing the faintest touches of an image. It was about a 5-minute development. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the 5 minutes, it's like, that's pretty contrasty.
Not quite lithe, but...
Yeah. Now, granted, we were using studio strobes, and they kick out a fair amount of light. In fact, we use the strobes because ISO 2.
Right. Well, see, that's the thing that he and I were going back and forth. How do we shoot this stuff?
Yeah.
Especially under the conditions, because we couldn't really just go out and shoot Santa walking around shopping or something like that, because, you know, he's kind of private.
Yeah.
And so we like, okay, we'll do it inside, but then we're shooting with some of the slowest stuff around. I mean, this stuff, that's ISO 2. The fastest stuff we were using was the Xray film, and the other stuff with the filter factors was pretty slow too.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we were battling. So we were looking for something to scan so that we could show it to you a little bit better. And Lars came up with the idea of, well, why don't you show them?
Well, this actually fits. These are, I made platinum palladium prints off the glass plates, which are, you know, appropriate to the era.
You know, and that's a nice size picture, you know, seeing it reversed out, and it doesn't, they look, you know, this one actually, we have the most tonality, I think. I think you nailed this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it is moody, it is dark.
You know, actually, the funny thing is, okay, first of all, the reason why I wanted to go with platinum on these is because I saw these really high contrast negatives, and platinum generally needs a fairly high contrast negative to print well. It doesn't need this much contrast.
Right. No, it is.
These are still very contrasty.
We're trying to bring it back. It's got that kind of dark Christmas mood,
Yeah.
which, to tell you the truth, I find kind of interesting. I think the best one is looking at the book, though.
Yeah, I think these were printed at 2.5 minutes. So I actually pulled back the exposure quite a bit.
No, I think that's the one that's the most successful of the bunch.
Yeah, and it gives a little bit better tones in the face, where, you know, we do lose all detail in the white.
So with the zebra plates, I like the sharpness of them, it's going to be a matter of taming the contrast, and that'll be in development. That was another issue. Is like, you know, how do you hold back contrast that way, exposing and developing for lower contrast.
Even though, I would have preferred a somewhat lower contrast result. I'm pretty excited with how these look.
Oh, they look good. All right, well, let's move on.
So, speaking of X-ray film.
All right, here we go. What's interesting to me is that you've got some nice tonality. I like what that looks like, really.
Yeah, the tones, I think, look really good here. And the nice thing about 8x10 film is that you can barely see the scratches.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're relatively small.
Let's look at this next one here. Oh, yeah. Okay, so kids, don't do this at home. Don't smoke while you're reading.
Yeah. I mean...
And, oh, yeah, this one I like a lot.
Yeah.
I think that really kind of
where he's
nails
actually
this one.
looking down, reading the book. He's got the pipe.
Yeah.
The contrast looks good. I like the general look of this one.
Yeah. Now, FYI, he's reading a first edition of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. We did not have the first edition of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the whole thing is a failure because of that.
Yeah. Moving on. I haven't thought. Oh, I forgot that he did this pose.
Right.
Oh,
yeah, we have
neat.
2 shots of this.
Oh, okay.
So we've got when he's looking off on this one, doing the shushing thing. There's this line here, and I don't know if that's like a drying mark or.
That is weird.
But
X-rays?
with X-ray film, I hesitate to try to clean them up.
Just go with it.
Yeah. And then.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But then where he's shushing and looking into the camera, I think that's
good.
very effective.
Now, what I really like about that, of course, the ribbon is, on the wreath is sharp, and that's really cool. Yeah. I like how it goes out of focus slightly, and you're getting a little motion blur in his face. I mean, it's got sort of sort of got like a 1880s look to it. That this is actually, if you wanted to say this is 1880s.
Mhm.
This is the shot that I would go for
Yeah.
because it really does look like an 1880s shot.
And I was very happy with the development process when I wasn't actually ruining the film.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, nice job not ruining the
Yeah,
film.
well,
Oh, and Santa's having a cold one after a long day out.
now
I love
this was on the panchromatic film.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, remember I had, when I loaded up 10 sheets of black and white Filmapan, and I only needed 9 for 3 tricolor shots.
Oh, and so
we had,
just. Oh, I didn't realize. I was there, but I don't remember you doing that.
Yeah, it was, it was easy to miss because it was sort of like shooting the X-ray. I was just changing the exposure. But we did this in connection to another one where he's got the beer stein. But in this one, we had him drinking because we couldn't have him holding up the beer stein.
Right. Oh, that's
in
neat.
another situation.
That's neat, though. I didn't realize. But yes, the tone is definitely slightly changed.
Here, we had to struggle.
Okay, so why don't you tell the story?
Well, I guess I like to struggle. I don't know. So I figured, okay, develop the glass plates, then I moved on to the X-ray film. Pull it, I get my developer set up, and because X-ray film is not sensitive to red, you can develop it under a safe light, which is great. It makes it a lot easier. So I take the 8x10 film holder and open the dark slide, pull the film out, walk over to the development tray, and noticing there's sharp corners on this film, and there's an edge notch. X-ray film has rounded corners and no edge notch. This is not X-ray film. Oh no, I have ruined one of the exposures on a tricolor. It was a dumb mistake on my part. But
Thank God I wasn't there.
But
I
it was my mistake, and I embrace it.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I hold it closely, and I weep at night.
Well, but, before 3-color photography, there was such a thing as 2-color photography. We played around with it, and I would take a shot at it, and then Lars would take a shot at it, and we went back and forth and back and forth. If the woodwork looked right, then Santa's pants would go green.
Yeah, it was weird.
But that was the one that looked the best, so we just, kind of embraced that.
Yeah,
Turned out what we had is we had the blue record and we had the green record, but we didn't have the red record.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the look of it, to tell you the truth.
It kind of works if you're willing to accept the green pants as opposed to red, or sort of.
Yeah, no, it actually looks pretty natural.
Yeah, I'm still sort of like a little flummoxed by why this thing even works as well as it does.
So, look at that.
No,
Natalie Kalmus would be proud of you. So there he is, thinking about life, thinking about, do I need this seasonal job?
Yeah, he's finished for this Christmas season. He's just, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And the thing is, every year he gets drawn back in. It's like,
Just suck you back in. Those little kids that do it to you every time. Wow, but that is so amazing. Let's have a look at those negatives here.
Yeah, okay.
So, this is blue, and this is green, and red has the strongest, and this is just because I know, red has the strongest registration of the firelight that we put in the fire.
I guess the thing is when, I've shot a number of tricolors. Usually when I do it, it's on roll film. So, and I always do it in red, green, blue, RGB. I never change that because I don't want to lose track of which color is which.
Yeah.
Because, and you can figure it out, obviously, but it's easier if you don't have to struggle.
Well, okay, let's look at this last tricolor, and that's the one with it.
So
there we go. And there it is. That's probably the strongest Tricolor shots anyway.
Yeah, I think this one.
I think you really have it there. And what's amazing to me is just how good that looks.
Yeah.
You would never know that Eric had to go have back surgery afterwards.
I'm so sorry for what we did.
But look at that. Look at that.
The thing for me with tricolors is, people talk about the magic of a black and white image coming up in the developer as you're working in the darkroom. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's neat. But I get a thrill every single time I put together a tricolor and you have black and white, and suddenly you have color. And it's like, how did that happen? I mean, you've got 3 sheets of black and white film, and they all come together to become this color image. And I was not expecting these to come out anywhere near as well as they did.
Well,
frankly, I was just hoping we would see a little bit of color. But these came out well. I was pretty astounded.
It was tricky. It was real tricky, but
a lot of credit goes to Eric for being able to maintain that.
That's right. So yes, our Santa was
a
very patient man, as you probably would have guessed.
Santa has focus and concentration, and that's a very important thing for this.
Anyway, we thought you might enjoy our little Christmas escapade into 8x10 land with Santa, and we were delighted to bring it to you, all except for Spike, who, when Santa showed up with bells around his legs, almost had a conniption and was not going to let this guy just come into the house easily. Poor Spike was in bad shape. But he's since calmed down and has forgiven us and Santa, and we're sure glad that Santa has forgiven us. We hope he has, because it'd be nice to get something other than coal. You can burn it, I guess. But anyway, this has been Test Roll. Happy Christmas to you all, and we'll see you next year. Santa left these for us.
Ooh,
that's
Christmas
yours.
Stockings. Hooray!
Green, yeah. 2-color. Very green.
Implying something here.
What'd you get?
Let's see what I got. Ooh, a 210mm lens.
Just what you needed.
And I'll just add that to my collection of 210mm lenses.
Nice.
Thank you, Santa.
How to make good pictures.
Ooh.
I'm going to be spending some time with this one.
Yeah, let me read it after you, because...
It'll be a while.
Yeah.